correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I've never worked in a State Department, nor do I have any qualifications. I've always felt like America just does what it wants, and then sometimes it's on the right side of international law, and then some. But it's not like America's trying to be on a side. America's just like, listen here, buddy, this is what I'm doing, and if it's on or not on your side of law, then that's your problem. But it seems like every time the UN, like if we think of it like weapons of mass destruction,
totally,
Saddam Hussein, all of that, America went against the UN, right? But America just did its thing. And then when something else is happening, America will do its thing, but it happens to be on the other side of the law. So am I misunderstanding this? Or is America just doing what it wants to do, and then sometimes it's for the law and sometimes it's against international law?
I think probably in broad brushstrokes, you're right. Although different presidents, I think, take this to further than others. And I will say, look, when I was in the U.S. government in the Obama administration, one of the things I did was I went to other countries, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia,
and sabotage
Vietnam.
Their countries.
Exactly.
Say it.
I was going to say, eat their noodles, Mara.
We need more people like you in the world, Eugene. You have goodness in your heart.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're right. And ate noodles.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. You can
sabotage a good person. Yeah. So basically, what we would do, and this was when we were putting pressure on Iran in the early 2010s, we would say, look. If you keep buying oil from Iran, you a Singaporean company, we will cut you off from the U.S. dollar. We will use this key choke point in the global economy, which is the U.S. dollar, critical for all international business. And so it was. I mean, I didn't use quite the accent that you just used, Trevor, although I probably should have. It would have made me more credible. And we did sort of give these folks sort of binary choices, which was like, look, if you don't stop buying oil from Iran, you're going to lose access to the world's most important currency, the U.S. dollar. What I will say, though, is when you deliver that message to a foreign businessman or diplomat, like, it doesn't usually go over well. They're like, what the hell are you doing here? And so what helped us in those days was to say, look, I'm just here because the UN, including your own country, has said that Iran shouldn't have a nuclear weapon. Yes. And guess what? Their oil sales are directly funding their nuclear program. So I'm just here to help you comply with your international obligations. And that may sound like, glib or something like that, but it actually worked. And it made it much more likely for the person on the other side of the table to be like, look, we are being pressured by the US, but truly, like, this is accurate. It's a lot different if I just said that, like, look, the whole international community disagrees with me. Yeah. We shouldn't be doing this, but still, you should stop doing business with Iran because I told you so. Which is, by the way, that has been what Trump has tried to do with a lot of different countries in recent years, saying, like, if you don't do X or Y, I'm just going to wall up your economy with tariffs or sanctions. But there's no sort of legitimization that helps it go down easier, which also means not only is it like a more awkward conversation, but like from a very practical, like self-interested perspective, that person on the other side of the table is way less likely to do what you want them to do. I mean, it's the same in like human relations, right? If you try to persuade your kid to do something that they don't want to do, they're much more likely to go along with it if they think that it's just. You're on the side of justice. What?
They might just end up homeless.
That's true. Or you kick them out.
That's my petrodollar.
Is to threaten them with homelessness. Yeah. So you can do what Daddy says, ne? Oh.
They grab me. Listen here, buddy.
Yeah, you got to use that accent. It works. It's much more effective.
It really works well. Okay, so this is providing a lot of clarity. So you had a world where Iran. Am I correct in assuming people don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon because it gives them more power, or it's not because they think they'll use it, right?
It's I'm glad you brought this up because there's really two perspectives on this. I think like the less common perspective, although some people have it, is that, the Islamic Republic of Iran, like, they are literally this messianic regime in which they are so committed to wiping Israel off the face of the earth that even if it means that they would destroy themselves, in the process, that they would go ahead and use that nuclear weapon. I would say that's a minority opinion.
Okay.
The more credible opinion amongst sort of national security experts is that Iran is the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. So groups like Hezbollah and Hamas that have killed lots of innocent people around the world, including Americans, are on the payroll of Iran. Iran has basically trained and created a lot of these groups. And so even if Iran wouldn't use a nuclear weapon itself, what happens if it gave some high enriched uranium to Hezbollah? And Hezbollah said
okay, so that's the cause. That's the real cause of concern.
Yes, it is. nuclear. I mean, it's weird. I mean, I don't know if you guys were in New York in like the 2000s, but when this issue really came up, it was like mid 2000s, like 2005, 2006, 2007, and the big fear then was that we would have a nuclear 9/11, that the next terrorist group wouldn't just fly a plane into the World Trade Center, like they would have like a bomb laced with enriched uranium. And it was a legitimate fear, right? Because Iran was hypercharging its nuclear program and supporting these terrorist groups.
Well, this is an interesting question that I have actually then is, I like your phrasing. Was it a legitimate concern or was it a legitimate fear? Because sometimes a fear can be legitimate because you have a fear, and I can say that is a legitimate fear. But was the concern actually like legitimate? As in, was this based on something that could happen, or was it based on the idea that something could happen?
Yeah.
Which I know seems like semantics, but do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Sometimes people are afraid of something. Okay, here's an example. In America, people are terrified that their kids are going to get kidnapped.
Yeah.
It just became a campaign in the United States at some point. Kids were going missing. They were on milk cartons. But as a percentage of the population...
I've never understood that milk carton thing, but anyway.
Yeah, but as a percentage of the population, it was huge, right? I mean, it was small, it was tiny. It was insignificant, not to the parents of those children and not to their communities. But in terms of how it made people feel, they started writing laws that said your kid could not go unattended at a park. They couldn't like walk home. If your child is found like by themselves, they'll take the child sometimes away from the parents. But they created such a mass hysteria that now they've undermined the very existence of childhood, in my opinion, right?
Yes. And the freedoms of it.
The fear was real. But the thing that the fear was based on wasn't necessarily as real as people thought it was. So in that, was it a real issue, or was the fear the thing that people were focusing on?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a real issue just given the stakes, right? And given that 9/11 did happen, right?
It had just happened.
Yeah, like,
okay.
So we had just experienced a massive, coordinated terrorist attack, 4 planes that were
hijacked. Shook the world, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I do think it was legitimate. And this is one thing that I'm conflicted about. It's also why I think, honestly, evaluating foreign policy is so difficult, is that you don't know the counterfactual, right? You don't know, like, well, what would have happened if we had not done this, right? And so, like, if you look at the track record of U.S. policy since 9/11, I would say most people, including myself, would say we exaggerated the impact, like how big of a threat terrorism was. We were scarred by 9/11. It did take away a lot of our freedoms. I remember as a kid, the first time I flew alone, my mom and dad taking me through security and dropping me out off at the gate.
Yeah.
And so we have lost a lot of our freedoms. At the same time, we have not had another 9/11 scale terrorist attack in the United States. And so I'm just being honest. Like, I'm genuinely conflicted on this because it's like, is this because of government policy? And if you look at Europe, for instance, like there have been these massive terrorist attacks, right? I mean, if you remember in the 2010s in Paris was a
huge one.
Yeah,
that
Charlie
Hebdo
and there were ones in Brussels. So yeah.